Okay, so good Saturday evening instead of good morning or good afternoon on a weekday. As promised, we have the bonus upload, which is to replace the video that was unuploaded last week. MaryJane and I are headed to the drive-in movie theater near-ish to our settlement, I guess we could say. You'll have to apologize for the varying level of white balance because we are battling a head-on sunset right now. Hopefully it'll get better in a few minutes and we're not totally washed out the entire time. But we are headed to see the Kingsman, the Golden Circle at the drive-in theater. I'm really excited for it because I loved the first one. I think that the Kingsman is everything the spy movies forgot how to be, especially that what James Bond forgot how to be. They have, gadgets, they have cars, they have just a whole lot of secrecy and actual stakes with their villains rather than just, cliche, run-of-the-mill, regular stuff that James Bond has been doing lately. It's kind of like Agent Cody Banks with Frankie Muniz, kicked up a notch. Now, that's how I feel about it. MaryJane, on the other hand, is not excited.
Well, I just don't I guess I'm going to compare it to the first one. I just don't like in the first one how much killing there is. I know they make it look fake, but there's so much. And the scene that, plays in my mind the most when I think of the first movie is the church scene. That's where all that killing happens. Just back to back, and it's just too much for me. Obviously, like I said, you can tell it's fake. There's a lot of fake blood, but to me, in real life, if that happened in real life, that would be so scary. So for it to be flipped and be entertaining in movies, I just don't get it. I don't understand why shooting and killing, or just killing in movies, is entertaining.
I can see that. Personally, it's really easy to separate fantasy, not even really fantasy, but filmography, cinematography from reality. I agree that if it were a real life situation, it would be heavily covered in the news, first of all, but also extremely traumatic and extremely tragic. Grief. It's a red light, not a deer crossing. But it's not real life, and so that's kind of how I separate. One spy movie that we can both agree on is really good is The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
I just I'm terrible with actors' names.
MaryJane just really likes Henry Cavill, who obviously plays Superman in the newer renditions as well.
Although, who's the main character in Kingsman?
Taron Egerton. I don't know if it's Egerton or Edgerton. I'm feeling that it's Egerton because it's a British name.
It doesn't really matter, but he's good looking too.
He was the monkey in Sing too.
Oh yeah, you told me that.
He did his own singing, so he's kind of a double threat. I don't know if he's a triple threat. I don't know if he can dance or not, but he does a pretty good job with the fight choreography in the Kingsman. So I have a feeling that he's probably pretty good on his feet. So he might be a triple threat, acting, singing, and dancing. Who knows? I'm sure Dancing with the Stars will attempt to get him at some point, but he might be too famous. Dancing with the Stars does that nowadays. I don't watch it all that much anymore, but they kind of get almost C and D list celebrities because they can't get A and B list ones.
They don't have the time.
They get people that used to be on the A list, 20, 30 years ago, but not anymore.
Who can't dance very well now.
Right, they can't dance anyway because they're all old. But, as I said, I'm excited for this movie because, one, I wanted there to be a sequel as soon as the first one was over, and I'm really glad there is. Yeah, it's pretty gory, but this one looks like it's going to have a lot more comedy in it, which I think was a huge plus that they didn't play on in the first one a whole lot. They had the opportunity to do some really funny scenes in the first one, and they just kind of threw them in there. Well, just not as well as they could have. But in this one, it looks like there's going to be a lot. Obviously, with Channing Tatum, there has to be a bit of comedy in it.
I forgot that he was in it.
Yeah. Channing Tatum. Halle Berry plays a nerd, which is kind of out of her realm, but I think that's what they're going for, is like this hot nerd, kind of the Moneypenny thing from James Bond. So that'll be cool. What
I
else?
honestly have not watched enough of the trailers for this Kingsman movie, so I don't really know the storyline, but I think I'm gonna like it a little better than the first one.
Well, it goes to America, so they're not in Britain the whole time or London the whole time, because they're meeting up with what's called the Statesman. So the Kingsman in Britain and the Statesman in the United States, and that's where Channing Tatum comes in.
Gotcha.
Jeff Bridges is also in this movie. He's like the head of the American Statesman, which I'm not super stoked about, mostly because I can't stand the way Jeff Bridges talks.
I don't even know who that is.
My first real experience with him, and people are going to really hate this, is from Iron Man in 2008, the original Iron Man, where he played Obadiah Stane. Stane? I think it's Stane. Where he just talks like this all the time. It's like he can't open his mouth entirely. But obviously he was really famous for being in Tron in the 80s, and then obviously the reboot in the early 2000s. What else? The Big Lebowski. He's really famous for that role. He does a lot of different things. And one that you might remember is that zombie movie with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, like I watched zombie movies.
You watched the one with Ryan Reynolds when he was killed. He was a police officer that was killed, and then he came. It was R.I.P.D. That's what it was. He was killed, and then he came back as like this ugly Chinese guy, and his partner was.
I wouldn't call that a zombie movie.
They were definitely zombies or monsters, aliens.
No, I hate zombie movies.
They were undead, re-dead creatures. That's
But
pretty
they were
much
like
zombies. No,
zombies.
that's not what. Oh, it's a common misconception. Not all zombies walk around going "Brr, brr," all the
I
time.
didn't say that.
They don't do that.
What is the zombie movie you tried to get me to watch? Zombieland?
Zombieland with
Oh.
Woody Harrelson and
No.
Mark Zuckerberg's dude, Jesse Eisenberg, and Emma Stone.
It doesn't help that I don't like scary movies, so that to me...
But see, like, that movie isn't scary.
I thought it was scary.
It's
I didn't
supposed to
make
make fun of zombie movies.
I didn't make it through the first 2 minutes.
Something that's like a little more on the scary side would be I Am Legend with Will Smith.
Those are the robots, right?
No, that's iRobot. I Am Legend is zombies. Zombie-like characters. He's like the only person left after this virus, and every night he has to go and lock up, and his dog gets bit by one of them, and he has to kill it.
I think I really mixed those two up.
Well, iRobot is much older than I Am Legend, first of all. But additionally, I actually liked iRobot. Not a lot of people did. Little known fact, Shia LaBeouf plays a bratty teenager in that movie. Very, very small role. Which also can't be confused with Hancock, because he plays kind of this loner character in Hancock too. But on the topic of Will Smith, he's going to be the genie in the live-action Aladdin.
Oh my gosh, I am super excited for all these live-action Disney movies, and yes, I will see all of them.
I would like them more. Obviously, I've liked all of them. I haven't actually made it all the way through the live-action Cinderella, but that was kind of like on the forefront of all of this stuff. It was kind of under-noticed.
Yeah, I don't feel like that one was really hyped up.
I didn't really like the animated Cinderella that much either. Like, it doesn't have any really big songs that stand out. It doesn't have the spectacle of a lot of the other ones. It's just kind of the Cinderella story. Here it is. So I'm not surprised that the live action one didn't play out very well either.
Did they even really have any like big names in that movie?
In the live action one? I don't think so. I mean, there were some people whose faces you would recognize. I mean, if you really paid attention, but like I said, I haven't made it all the way through it, so I don't know. Obviously, Beauty and the Beast was really, really good.
Oh yeah, because Emma Watson was.
I mean, that only helped things. What I would prefer, though, is if they just did shot for shot, remake of the movie. I don't like them throwing in these extra little songs and scenes and things like that.
I liked the extras because I don't know in the cartoon version if they ever explain what happened to Belle's mom.
But you didn't need that.
But it's fine to know.
But even in the new one, they don't really explain it. They just kind of
No, they do.
They allow you to infer that she died from the plague. But
she died from the plague.
Right.
Fact.
Yeah, I mean it's presented that way, but they don't come right out and say she died from the plague.
They basically do.
But it's not something that you really need to know. Like, it's not an important part of the story.
No.
In the new one, it is because her dad is like this lonely artist who is like stuck on her mom. But without that scene, which is also not from the cartoon, you don't need it either. Because in the cartoon, he's an inventor who most of them are crackpot fools anyway. So it's easy for him to dwell on his inventions. But they needed a backstory for why he's dwelling on his art and making such a big deal of these art things.
Well, they also had Belle kind of, ask more questions. Like, what happened to Mom? So I think they tied it all in nicely.
I guess. Some people, I've already mentioned these people on my channel before. MaryJane has kind of heard a few of their videos before. I don't know that she's ever sat down and watched one with me, but the Super Carlin brothers go through this type of thing in a lot more detail. They break these movies, specifically Disney and Pixar movies, apart like crazy. And they do a really good job of it, in my opinion. They have a lot more subscribers and friends on their channel than we do on this one.
Hey, brother!
Yeah, that one. I will be more excited for... I mean, Aladdin is obviously a good choice for a live-action remake. They'll probably do a lot of what they did with the Jungle Book, with, like, Abu being an animated monkey, rather
than... They did the Jungle Book.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
They actually did 2 of the Jungle Books, live-action Jungle Books, which I thought was kind of stupid. But, like... in the late 90s, when they were doing like live action shows, like they would have real animals come in and you would have like this capuchin monkey or something come in and be playing Abu. But I feel like they'll probably animate him and make him look like an animated, realistic monkey. I'm excited for The Little Mermaid. I've already talked about it in a previous video, like early on, that the current movie that's in production that's called The Little Mermaid is not the Disney version of The Little Mermaid.
So they are going to make a Disney version?
I'm sure they will. Actually, I know they will because... Oh, what's her name? Can't remember her name. She was in Neighbors 2. She was the leader of the sorority in Neighbors 2. And she was the little girl from... she was Hit Girl in the 2... can't remember her name. It's like hard to spell too.
Anyway, there's talks of her being mermaid.
She was cast as Little Mermaid, as Ariel, and there was even fan art that was like depicting her as Ariel, but she dropped out of it. So I'm pretty sure Little Mermaid is actually in casting / pre-production. But there's another movie of the same title that's a completely different story. They're calling it The Little Mermaid because I feel like they're trying to capitalize on the live-action Disney stuff.
Yeah, when I first heard that, I'm like, oh yes, and then I found out the storyline, I'm like, that is not The Little Mermaid.
And it's not produced by Disney either.
So upset about it.
It's not even related to Disney in any way. I mean, there might be some like casting directors or people like from both studios, but yeah.
This coffee's really cold.
Yeah, she's drinking coffee from 10:30 this morning that she didn't finish earlier when it was actually good and hot.
I can't drink coffee that quickly. How many ounces is this?
20.
16.
So, what, 6 hours to drink a 16-ounce coffee? 8 hours to drink a 16-ounce coffee.
It still tastes good, it's just cold.
But yeah, we're going to see The Kingsman. We're going to have some popcorn. We might have a root beer or maybe a hamburger since we haven't really had dinner.
Do they have nachos?
I'm sure they have nachos.
Kind of
positive they have nachos. So I'm on a regular state highway. I thought that was a helicopter for a second.
I did too.
is an irrigation system with like hoses wrapped around it. I'm going 63 miles an hour on this state highway, which the speed limit is 55 anyway, and the car's passing me because he's too impatient. He's trying to beat us to the theater so he can get a better parking spot.
Fresher popcorn.
I guess. But I'm excited for this movie. I know it's going to be super gory, but I'm excited for the action. I'm excited for the acting. Maybe it'll be less gore. Maybe that was like
That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping.
Like maybe that was a downfall of the first one. Like a lot of people probably said, and if they listen to their audience, then there might not be as much blood and cutting people in half. And
wait, I'm not the only one that complained about the blood.
Oh, surely not. Surely not. I mean, I can admit there was a lot. Like it was kind of overkill, but that was what was so surprising about it, was that it was just, there were no holds barred. It was like, boom, this is what we're doing. We're not trying to please anybody. We're just making the movie the way we intend to make it, and that's it. So it can go one of two ways with the second one. They can do it all out again, or they can hold back a little bit because it was negatively received. Sam's back in town, by the way. We just saw him. We dropped Ellie off at my mom and dad's to hang out with them while we're out on our date. And Sam just got back in town from Minnesota about 2 hours ago. And so he's excited to be able to hang out and play with Ellie as well.
I was excited for him to see Ellie. It's been, what, 6 months?
Since March, before her birthday. So
she's grown a lot in that time. So I was just excited for him to see all her changes. And they're going to be buddies again. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Where was I going with that? Oh, he already saw. He told us when we told him where we were going. He's like, I just saw it on Tuesday, and he said what? That
he said it wasn't like a great movie, but he still liked it. He enjoyed it. But
he enjoyed it as a movie. Maybe not so much the story. I don't know. I didn't really ask for a lot of details because I'm going to see it, and I didn't want to spoil anything for myself. So.
But anyway, we're excited. Date night. We don't get to do that very often, so I am looking forward to spending time.
Yeah, this should be a good night away. Obviously, part of our brains are going to be focused on how's Ellie doing and what she's, is she settling down? Is she settling down for bed? Is she,
He said it first, not me.
She didn't have a nap today. Neither did Ellie. But, so, there's potentially a little bit of crankiness there. I won't say from who. Could be Ellie, could be MaryJane. You'll never know. But we're hoping that she behaves herself and that she's a good girl, and we can pick her up. She'll be asleep, first of all, when we pick her up, and that nobody loses any limbs. So we are probably about 8 minutes away from pulling into the gate at the drive-in. So we're going to sign off here. I hope you all enjoyed seeing MaryJane's face and hearing a little bit on what she has to say regarding her movie preferences.
I hope to be back.
There may be some more with her. Like she said, though, we don't have the opportunity to drive in the car in this kind of setting, just the two of us, very often. So it may happen again, it may not. It depends on how many views/likes this one gets.
Oh,
so,
it's dependent on that. I'm gonna go like this right away.
Like they did with the movie. If people don't like a part of it, then they don't put it in there again. So if people don't like you being in it, then I can't put you in it again.
Alright, so we'll see.
Alright, I will see you all on Monday morning, and it'll be the same day that I upload this video. So it's not really like I'm saying I'll see you on Monday, because I'm going to record another video between now and then anyway. Bye-bye.